I bet you never thought about Adam and Eve as being a gift for each other. I mean, after all, they did get all the other gifts. They got the doves, and they got the snails, and they got the turtles, and they got what else? Kangaroos. These were all presents from God, but God said, none of these things are worthy of you. Meaning, you're so good, you deserve a better gift. And so God gave Eve, the woman, to Adam, the man, and gave Adam, the man, to Eve, the woman, so that they would form a family. In fact, there is no greater blessing that God has ever given us than to give us a family that lets us know that we are loved. God himself wants to be part of our family. He loves us so much. He gives us everything we need, just like mom and dad give us food to eat and a shelter and a roof over our heads and the clothing on our backs. God gives all those things too. You see, God loves us, and that's what all of his presents mean. But the present of giving us a family was the greatest of presents, so that we would know how to love one another. Unfortunately, we don't always learn our lessons the first time. It is said in chapter 3 of Genesis that Adam and Eve were told, you can eat from all of these trees except for one. That's my rule. Every one of these trees are good to eat. They have apples and they have pears and they have bananas and they got all kinds of stuff here. You can eat from all of them. But don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay? That's the one rule. Now into the garden came slithering the snake. Now remember, it's just a poem. Don't get scared. In this poem, the snake could talk. Now, can snakes really talk? No. But in this story, the snake is the devil. But Adam and Eve don't know that. He slithers up. He teaches you how the devil is. The devil is sneaky. And when you're not paying attention, he comes right up to you and starts talking. Now, I'm afraid of snakes because they bite, but not in this story. In this story, the snake doesn't bite. What the snake does is it whispers lies. Do you know what a lie is? If somebody tells the truth, they tell what's real. If somebody tells a lie, it's not just storytelling. They're trying to trick you so that they can change things, make it worse than it was before. They are not your friend. The snake says to Adam and Eve, is it true that you can't eat from any of the trees? Eve says, oh no, that's not true at all. God said we could eat from all of the trees. Well, except for that one. That's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If we eat from that tree, we will surely die. The snake says, you ain't gonna die. God knows that if you eat from that tree, you will have knowledge of good and evil. And you will be even smarter than before. You'll be like God. That's a lie. He's tricking them into disobeying God. Before, they used to trust him. When God had a rule, they said it must be a good rule because God's a good God. But now she's questioning, is God a good God? I mean, he did give this that one rule. I wonder what happens if I eat from it. Maybe the snake's telling the truth. She doesn't know, does she? The snake is a liar. And so she goes and eats of the forbidden fruit. And she turns to Adam and says, do you want one? And he eats it too. They both broke the rules, and we call this the original sin, the first sin in the history of humanity. And it happened with the very first man and the very first woman. Afterward, they realized that they were naked. Oh, and they put on clothing to cover themselves. You see, before, they were like little babies. Does a baby ever think about being naked? No. The babies don't care. They do the naked baby dance. They don't care. It's only when we get older that we go, ooh, I'm going to cover up. Why? Well, I guess we feel a little embarrassed. But why do we feel embarrassed? It's actually because we are ashamed. Because we don't like the way people look at us. Sometimes they're not good people. And so we protect ourselves against them looking at me. Don't look at me. And we want them to see us as good. And so we dress very nicely. We don't want them to think bad of us. So we make sure that we're wearing something that's appropriate. Well, in comes God. Adam, Eve, where are you? And they were afraid and they were hiding. And they said, we're hiding. Why are you hiding? Because we were naked and we wanted to put on clothes and we're embarrassed. Who told you you were naked? Who told you to be embarrassed? Did you eat from that tree? Oh no, God's angry. He says, get over here. There's a punishment now. You get the consequences. That's it. Since you ate from that tree, one day you're going to get old and die. Like, it wasn't God's idea that we would ever get old. We could have stayed young forever. But that's the rules. You broke the rules. One day you're going to get old and die. Second rule. When it's time for you to have babies, it's going to be hard. I mean, it seems so strange. Why is it so painful for a mom to give birth to a baby? But they says that's part of the rules. You broke the rules. He says, and man, when you work to get your food out of the ground, the farmer's going to have to work hard. He's going to be sweating. He's going to be having a hard time getting the food. You say, why is that? Well, it used to be just so easy to get food. He says, that's the rules. You broke the rules. You get the punishment. And last, I'm kicking you out of paradise. You're not allowed to stay here anymore. This place was perfect. Now I'm going to send you out into a world that's hard. They said, please, you're being too hard on us. He said, okay, I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. I'm kicking you out of paradise and I'm giving you all the punishments, but I promise you, I will be with you. I will help you when you ask me to. And one day, I will bring you back to paradise. What was he talking about? He was talking about one day Jesus would come into the world. Jesus was like a new man, a man without sin. Sometimes we even call him the new Adam. And this new man with no sin had the keys to heaven. And heaven is like the best place ever. It's like paradise. And Jesus said, I will pay the price for you. I will die for you. And when I die, I will rise from the dead, and I will defeat the punishment. But I'm going to have to teach you how to not listen to that snake anymore. I'm going to have to teach you, don't listen to the temptation of the devil. That's what we call the lies of the devil, temptation. Don't listen to him. Well, I mean, if you ask me, if I saw a snake come up and it starts talking, I'm running away. But he's a lot more sneaky than that. It's a little voice in the back of my head that says, why don't you do that thing you're not supposed to do? I said, well, I'm not supposed to do it. If I do it, I will be punished. And the little voice says, nobody will see you. Do it in hiding. And sometimes we do it. What are we thinking? Don't listen to that little voice. That little voice is a snake, and it's lying to us. We call that temptation. Everybody has temptation. I have temptation. You have temptation. Mom and Dad have temptation. Even Jesus had temptation. But Jesus said, you don't have to listen to the liar, to the devil, to the temptation. You have free will. You are free to choose whether you will trust God or sin. What is your choice? And remember, if you choose sin, you're kicked out of paradise. But if you choose to trust God and follow Jesus, Jesus promises us, he promises us, I will take you back to paradise. That is why Jesus is so awesome. God had a big plan for humanity since the time of Adam and Eve. And that was a long time ago. Because afterward, Adam and Eve had their babies, and their babies had 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 babies, all the way until your mom and dad. And they had you. Whew. So we all have the same great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, Adam and Eve, the first human beings. And what makes us special is that we can choose to trust God or to sin. I advise you, don't sin. Better to follow Jesus into paradise.